Hey everyone, thank you so much for joining. Today I have the honor of introducing Julio Echegoyen. He is team leader at Walmart International. And Julio, it's a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you very much, David. I appreciate it.
Julio, we're trying to get to know you better, and we're asking our speakers if they could give a little bit of their background story. Could you share that with us today?
Sure, I'll be glad to. Again, David, thanks for the opportunity. I'm excited about sharing my story. And I was born in El Salvador in Central America. That is where I was born and raised, actually. But at 19 years old, I had the blessing and the opportunity to come study in the United States through the Walton International Scholarship. So Sam and Helen Walton, have this scholarship program for underprivileged students from Mexico and Central America to come to the U.S. Those students would not be able to afford an education in the U.S., and therefore he said, great, but if you have character, if you have good grades and so forth, he's providing an opportunity. And I won the scholarship for El Salvador, and my wife was actually from Guatemala, whom I met at school, won the scholarship for Guatemala.
Oh, wow.
This is when we came to Northwest Arkansas, to John Brown University, graduated from JBU. And one of the commitments that you have to the Walton family is that you're going to go back to the region and reinvest that which you have received. So in my case, it was 4 years. And I went back to Central America, and that's when I started working for Procter & Gamble, for P&G. And I was started in Guatemala. And at the same time, I was leading the recruiting process for new Walton scholars for the International Scholarship. And that's how I was giving back, for the region, for Central America. We did that for 4 years, and then I had the chance to come back to Northwest Arkansas and start working in finance as the finance leader for the Walmart International team within Procter & Gamble. Since then, as they said, the rest is history. My career has progressed in several assignments around the world. And, I've got a 26-year career with P&G. And I find myself now, after many assignments outside of the U.S., to be leading the Walmart International team for Procter & Gamble.
Wow, that's a very interesting story. And, I guess the oddity of meeting two people that both won the same award, it's so serendipitous,
Yeah, I personally believe that that's the things that only God can do. All right. So, for me, family is very strong, very important as well. It is just faith. And, it's been real neat to see, because I had a plan. I thought, hey, this is the progression I'm looking for. This is the plan I may have. And it was not necessarily as what I had planned, but let me say it was better than what I had planned. Yeah. So yes.
Yeah, absolutely. So, so as you have progressed in your career, I know that you're talking about, the spiritual aspect and family, but what other strategies do you use to succeed?
Yeah, certainly. The first two that I've mentioned are critical. As you alluded to them, faith and family for sure have been critical in this progression. The other one I would share with you is that really becoming an expert in the areas of influence that you have to be able to add value. So how do we add value in that current assignment that you're in with the company that you're in has been critical. So that would be one. How do you create value and then enable your own team to be able to deliver on that value? The second thing I would share with you is networking. Making sure that you're creating that networking both internally and externally that allows you not only to sharpen your own skill sets, but also to gain and learn valuable insights so that you can then reapply them into your business. Okay, and then of course into your own career, and then last, but it wraps them around, is leadership. It's all about our own personal leadership, our own personal accountability to go off and deliver that which we have said we want to deliver. All right. If you have that networking, that collaboration across your team, how do you lead your team through that goal that you have. So leadership, which is an influence relationship, how do you continue to have that influence relationship with peers, with bosses, and with the balance of the organization to be able to deliver on the goals that you've set for your team?
Right, right. And those are really important strategies. And I think a lot of Latinos tend to struggle a little bit with the networking, which is, it's a really good reason for us to be having these conversations.
Agree. I certainly agree.
So as we're talking a little bit about networking, what roles have mentors played in your career? If
yeah, very, very strongly, I would tell you, David. I am extremely thankful for those mentors, that have demonstrated, for me that role, not only on mentorship but specifically leadership, and I have been able to learn. All of us in our careers will have very good leaders that we work for and very poor leaders that we work for. But it is up to us to learn from each one of those. And then what am I going to apply to myself as to how I want to be a leader, how I want to lead organizations? So I've learned from both. But in terms of mentors, those have been the people that have been willing to take me under their wing, if I may say so, and help me through either, tough organizational issues or business concerns and career advice as to, hey, I've got a couple of opportunities or ideas or new assignments. Why should I take one versus the other? And it's important for us to have that in our own careers, in our lives, so that we can bounce ideas, to have that advice that allows us to then understand what is the best way forward. Not only, hey, I've got an idea where I should go, but, how about these 2 or 3 other thoughts? And usually it's people that have been, are ahead of you or have already gone through something like that can give you good, solid advice. And that's what networking and also mentorship specifically allows in our lives.
And do you feel like it requires for people to have a certain mindset when they enter their career to have that ability to identify who is a good mentor?
Yeah, and especially early on in your career, to your point, you may not have been able to identify those, but as you continue to network, as you continue to understand and get more familiar with maybe people's roles, responsibilities, values, you can start saying, hey, you know what? There he is, there she is, someone I want to get to know better because I think they could certainly help me grow in a particular area in my own life or my own career.
Yeah, yeah. One of the things that you mentioned earlier, and I think that you could probably expand a little bit about that, is become an expert about what it is that you're doing. That's a really good strategy. But could you share a little bit of how do you become an expert on those roles? Because I think that's a really good point that you made there.
That's excellent, David. Good question. And to expand on it, it has to do about this. Become a lifelong learner. Be hungry. Be curious. Right? So as I have entered, by the different assignments I've had in a 26-year-long career with Procter & Gamble, I'll be honest with you. I felt, especially that first time that I sat in that new chair, like, man, I may not be ready for this. I don't know that I've got the skill sets or all the ideas or the strategies for this. But that, made me even more hungry to go learn. All right. And I would learn from my own team members. I would learn from outside sources. I would learn from my mentors, but becoming curious about that area of responsibility and then understanding, hey, I want to become the expert in this particular area so that, when I'm talking to my bosses or when I'm talking to my peers, I can clearly guide them through why we made the choices we made in terms of strategy, why we're taking the actions we're taking, and how we are executing in this particular area is because you're very clear on, again, the strategies, the actions that you need to take to win. Mm-hmm. But that only comes if you're a lifelong learner. You are hungry, you are curious in your particular area of influence. And that's something I have applied in my life. By no means I consider myself an expert in all of those in other areas that usually you encounter in a team. But become hungry, become learner. And the second thing I would tell you about becoming an expert is, again, since you cannot become an expert in all of these areas, choose wisely in terms of who are those team members, who are those peers that you're going to connect with that can help you in that particular area of expertise. Mm-hmm. So that would be my advice.
Yeah, that's really good advice. And it seems like you have a really good understanding of the role of networking and the role of teamwork on your professional development.
Very well said. I mean, David, at the end, you have a couple of choices as a leader. And as you want to continue to progress your career, you can either use people and step over them to get where you want to get to, or, which I believe is better, work together with them so that all of us can continue growing our career. When you focus on the areas of expertise that each one of us have and how we can contribute to continue to grow or create value within the business environment.
Yeah, that's the best way that any leader can grow their team. Absolutely.
Correct.
Well, now, one of the things that we're looking and reflecting in this conversation is the Hispanic heritage of our speakers. So one question we're asking is, how do you keep your Hispanic heritage alive?
Yeah, very good. I would tell you in general, David, that first, it has to do with culture. Okay, it has to do with culture. And even if you look at in business environment, a culture within your team is what creates that foundation upon which you build to deliver your result. If you don't have the right culture in a team, you won't deliver results, right? Well, similarly, for me, being Latino, being Hispanic is not something I do on the side, it's who I am. So my approach to life, for example, my approach to business, for example, passion, it's something I bring every day. Why? Because that's, hey, who I am. I am passionate about that, what we're doing. And, as Latinos, as Hispanics, sometimes we try to conform, all right, or assimilate versus, hey, I want to bring my true self to work every day. I want to bring my true self to my family every day. Right? And if it's passion, what is it that which distinguishes you that you're going to bring and you're going to do with your entire self every day? So I tell you, I think of that as, my own personal culture, if I may say so, at family, at work, etc. That, hey, driving who I am, bringing my best self to work is the best I can do for others and for myself.
Yeah, that's no, I love that. Using your culture and the particulars of your culture. And one of the things that I like that you said is that you also pass it on, that you spread it around. Yeah.
Well, so in fact, if you think about our Latino culture, there's passion. The other area is we're very big into relationships. Mm-hmm. Right? We're big into relationships. And for us, if I know that I can trust the other individual and we've created this bond, hey, it's much easier for us to do business together, to work together. Well, why can't I bring that into the business environment? Sometimes it's a little more challenging, but that doesn't mean that you just simply leave it aside. You bring your full self to work, you bring your full self to your personal life, etc. And that allows you to create that culture on which you can continue growing.
Yeah, wow, that's good. Making your culture into a value proposition.
Well said. Well said. Exactly right.
It's amazing. So one of the questions that we're also asking is, what projects are you working on right now? What are new projects in the horizon?
And as to tell a little bit more, just in general, the community.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So I'll tell you, one of the ones that I'm very excited about, and this is with my very good friend, Dr. Adam Arroyos, okay, here in Northwest Arkansas, who is the CEO of Serve to Perform. And then also he is leading this group of Latinos and Latinas from across the not only business spectrum, but the social spectrum. And what do I mean? Educators, healthcare workers, businessmen and women, behind an organization called Latin XNA. Okay, and that's one of the projects that we're working with. And the idea is, how do we bring people, and especially young Latinos and Latinas, there's examples of others who have maybe gone before them, who have been able to be successful in the different areas across our society. And how do we prepare those young Latinos and Latinas to also make a difference in society? So, for example, training them to have a role in a board of directors in either nonprofit or a for-profit organization. Right. And then highlighting these individuals, that are already here in the community who can mentor them. So that's one of the big projects that we're working on, and that I'm very excited about.
No, that's exciting. And I've spoken with Adam, and yeah, he's a terrific guy. Yeah, and the organization is doing so much. That's one of the organizations I'm very, very excited about, the Serve to Perform and the Latinx NA. They are really, really invested in the success of Latinos, and that's something that I will say I hadn't seen when I was growing up. I am very thankful that they're doing that now, because we're gonna have to have, our next leaders, to have that support.
That's exactly right. And what best, as we have been just talking in all of our conversation, in terms of mentorship, in terms of leadership, in terms of networking, bringing all of these three things together is something we're trying to do with Latinx NA, with the young, and upcoming future Latino and Latina leaders.
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure. Thank you for the honor and the privilege of being able to do so.
Yeah, well, and on behalf of the Latino Business Speaker Bureau, yeah, we're really thankful that you took your time to share it.
Thank you, David. I appreciate it.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Take care.